Hey family, my name is Richard.
And I'm Brittni.
And we are the founders of LoveAlwaysMinistries.com. And we want to say thank you so much for tuning into this channel. And if you guys could you make sure to subscribe to this channel so you can stay updated with everything that's going on right here on this channel.
And if you'd like to partner with our ministry, you can do so by heading over to lovealwaysministries.com/donate to make a donation today. Or you can give by snail mail. Just look for the website at the bottom of every page on our website. And if you haven't checked out our book, A Call to Purity, what are you waiting for? It is available on Amazon or on our website. Make sure that you pick yourself up a copy today. It is changing lives all over the world. We love you guys. We can't do what we do without you. So thank you for your generosity. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your support. And thank you for tuning into our channel. We love you guys so much, and we pray God's blessings over you. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning into the Let's Talk Purity podcast with Brittni and Richard De La Mora. We're so excited that you guys are here. As always, this podcast is brought to you by Edifi.app. If you're watching on YouTube today, you could probably already see that my husband, Richard, is not here. We had some babysitting issues, but he will be back on the next show. So stay tuned. You'll get to see him in 2 weeks. And today I have a very special guest. We are bringing on Kristen Jenson. I'm so excited that she's here today. Let me tell you a little bit about her. She is the author of the best-selling books, Good Pictures, Bad Pictures, Porn Proofing Today's Young Kids, and Good Pictures, Bad Pictures, Junior, A Simple Plan to Protect Young Minds, which I have already read to my 3-year-old. And Good Pictures, Bad Pictures, a guidebook for professionals, and the executive producer of Brain Defense, which is a digital safety curriculum. And she's also the founder of Defend Young Minds, which you want to check out because there's so many incredible resources for you parents. And she's also the owner of CEO and Glen Cove Press. That was a tongue twister. Kristen, thank you so much for joining us on the Let's Talk Purity podcast. I'm so excited that you're here today.
I'm excited to be here with you, Brittni.
Thank you. So I want to just get right into it. Can you share some statistics with our audience about how many kids are currently just entertaining and watching porn or have just seen porn?
Well, that's a really hard statistic to come by because you can't just go to a bunch of 5-year-olds or 7-year-olds and ask that question. So it's difficult to get research on that. However, there was a internet security company called Bitdefender who went on and did some analytics. And the one thing they did come out with, they said that 10% of visitors to the most popular porn sites are kids ages 10 and under.
Wow.
So you know that a lot of kids are watching pornography. Mm-hmm. And there was another study that was done by the British Board of Film Classification Research, something like that. Anyway, they were trying to figure out, were parents aware of their children's exposure to porn? Mm-hmm. And what they found was this huge naivete gap. So twice as many parents, or let me say that again, 25% of the parents thought that their children were watching pornography, but actually it was more than double that. So 53%. Wow. So that's a 100% naivete gap, meaning that, and there are other studies like this that show that parents are not fully aware of the negative experiences that kids are having online. So we do know that, and then when they looked at girls, 58% of the girls said that they had seen porn, whereas their parents thought it was only maybe like 17%.
Wow.
So these show that a lot of children are And also in that same study, they had children as young as 7 admit to seeing pornography. So we have so many, a lot of anecdotal stories. I've had many parents tell me that their 5-year-old kindergartner was exposed to pornography by another child on a school bus. So that's why I say every school bus is a XXX theater in America because of how many kids have smartphones.
Wow, that's wild. And so is it normally other students that are exposing children to porn, or who's typically exposing them?
So there's a couple of ways. First of all, kids do expose other kids to pornography. This is a very common way because this is very normal. Kids share with each other. They find something. I mean, my dad, when I found a Playboy magazine on my dad's bedside table, guess who I showed it to? My little sister. You know, it's not like they're trying to be bad or anything. They just, and then the other way is through, I believe the porn industry is predatory. They are after kids. They are looking to hook kids. And so through games like video games, and social media, especially, I really
that's a big one.
Have a worry about social media and kids, because there's so much porn on social media. So I would say video games, social media, and often there are some studies that show that children are often when they are exposed to pornography, they weren't looking for it. It came to them either by another child or, online. They happened to click a link or a pop-up or something, and it brought them to pornography.
Yeah. So how would you suggest that we protect our children from watching porn?
Yeah, that's a big question. So I think it's kind of like a two-pronged approach. So one, definitely need to get filters and parental controls. And if you're going to give your kids access to technology, you need to, it's a stewardship of a parent, really, to make sure those things are safe. So I would definitely use, we have one of the newer filters that we really like is called Canopy. And it uses,
I like that. I've seen it. Canopy's great.
It uses the AI, right? Artificial intelligence. So they've taught computers, okay, this is what porn looks like. This is what, and then it recognizes each picture and takes it out. So that's kind of the technical. You want to have the technical side. You want to lock things down as much as possible. However, the minute your child leaves your home, even if you could, which sometimes is doubtful, but even if you can lock everything down, and I would say also in that process to talk to your kids about what you're doing. Don't just say, we don't trust you. We're putting up this fence. Just say, it's protecting the entire family.
That's so good. I really like that. And with Canopy too, I had a meeting with somebody from there, and they were saying that if your kid just wants to go watch or check out the baseball stuff on Sports Illustrated, that it'll just blur out the images that are inappropriate, even on a site like Sports Illustrated. So I thought that was really great. And having those conversations with your children is imperative because our minds are curious. Like I was saying, I was telling Krista that I read her book, Good Pictures, Bad Pictures, Junior, to my 3-year-old. And she normally has a very low attention span. I mean, she's 3 years old. She just turned 3. She's a toddler. So she likes books, but sometimes we'll get halfway through and she's like, on to the next. And then other times, she just wants to quickly read another one, but she asked me to read this one to her again. And she really, really loved this book. But then she also asked me with her curious mind, well, where's the bad pictures? And I'm like, no, honey, like we don't want to see the bad pictures, but we need to be aware that they are out there. And she's like, oh, okay. So it's like, minds are curious. And if we're not talking to our children about porn and about these things, then they're going to learn from the outside world. So we want to make sure that they're learning at home. So,
well, you just gave the second half, the second prong, right?
Yeah.
Which is talking to our children, educating them, warning them so they're not caught off guard, and giving them some tools.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I say, there's 3 things every kid needs. They need a definition, a warning, and a plan. So a definition of what a bad picture is, a warning that it's, can be harmful to your brain and harmful to your life, and 3, a plan so they know exactly what to do when they see pornography. And that's the internal filter, right? So you have these other external filters like Canopy and others, but internal filter is really where you want to go to because it's persuading them.
Yes.
Right. It's persuading them.
And I love that your book gives that action too. My daughter practiced it, so it's like it gives them an action that what to do if they see bad pictures, they know what to do. So we were practicing that. And I think that's absolutely beautiful. And it's so powerful to empower children so they know what to do if they see porn or if they see images online or on social media, they know exactly what to do. So I love that your book provides that for them. And if children have been exposed to pornography, how can we as parents help them heal from that?
Yeah, that's really important. We talk a lot about that on our website. We have a guide actually specifically for that challenge, which is called My Kid Saw Porn, Now What?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and in it we have a SMART plan. So I like these acronyms. And S stands for stay calm. So one of the biggest mistakes parents make when they find out that their child has seen pornography is they have this big emotion reaction, right? Yeah. They freak out and maybe they get angry, and it's really best to deal with your own feelings first before you confront your child and figure out like what you're going to do, how you're going to help your child going forward. And then M stands for make a plan, which you need to have a plan and you need to know what questions to ask and how to go about it. Anyway, that's all detailed in that guide on defendyoungminds.com. But how to help them heal? I think really if we are there for them and if we can talk with them and if they don't feel ashamed or embarrassed to come to us, to know that they need to debrief, after they've seen something, that is going to go a long way and to helping them deal with it. Because when a child has to deal with this alone, it's such a burden. Can I tell you a quick story about
Please
that?
Do. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's one of my favorite stories. There was a 9-year-old boy and his mom read him good pictures, bad pictures. And 3 days later, he went to school and on the playground, one of his friends had a smartphone, 3rd grade.
Wow.
And showed him pornography. Wow. Well, this little boy recognized it. He knew exactly what it was. And then he knew what to do. And he went home, he turned away, got out of that situation. And he went home and he told his mom and he said, I was scared, but I knew what to do.
That's beautiful.
You can just feel the weight coming off of him. So really, I think, and then, if a child is really, we talk a lot about in the junior book and also in the book for older kids, we talk about how to forget an image. And you can't really forget it, but you can minimize.
Yes.
You can minimize how much that pops up in your mind. There's a specific technique that kind of uses your own brain science and your own brain to help forget that image and keep it from popping back up, basically.
Yeah, I think that that's so powerful. For me, I was in the porn industry for 7 years of my life. And so from the age of 18 to 25. So I've seen all kinds of things. And I'm a living testament to like God's restoration and how he can purify your mind and how you can cast thoughts down and how those thoughts can become something that are so far back in your mind that they don't have to keep popping up. And so, yeah, I think that's so powerful to equip your children with that. And you can get that in her book, Defend Young Minds, in Good Pictures, Bad Pictures on defendyoungminds.com or even on Amazon. So make sure that you pick up that for your children. And when do you think is the most appropriate time to start having these conversations with our children?
Well, the most appropriate time is whenever they have access to the internet, right? So when your child was a little toddler and starting to walk, you started to tell her about the dangers of cars on the roads, right? Don't run out into the street. Don't go past, don't run out into the parking lot, whatever. You warned them about dangers. So when they get out on the internet superhighway, they need to also have a warning, because it's very difficult to know exactly all the different ways that your child might be exposed or to predict when they might be exposed. Yeah. So I just say, and many other experts say this too, that it's whenever a child has any access to the internet.
I love that. I actually have a friend who reached out to me a few weeks ago. Her daughter was exposed to porn. And so she was just doing all kinds of research and she actually found your website. So she had sent me something and like, you got to connect with this woman. You need to talk about this on your podcast. I'm like, I already have something that we're working on lining up. So thank you so much for the work that you're doing, because you are helping so many parents. I mean, my friend was just shocked, had no idea what to do. And your ministry, your nonprofit is really helping equip parents, because she feels more confident and secure now dealing with what her child's seen on the internet. So thank you for what you're doing. And also, could you talk to us about how we as parents can ensure that we're a safe place? Because so many children, I think the statistics are like 50% of children are embarrassed to talk to their parents about sex and about porn. So how can we make sure that we're a safe place to help our children feel comfortable coming to us?
Yeah. Well, I think we have to open the conversation. And when it comes to sex, I think we need to teach our kids earlier than we may feel comfortable, but not just the mechanics, but your values around it. What is the purpose of sex? And what is the ideal situation in which, you would have a sexual relationship with somebody? So I think that needs to begin earlier. We have an article on Defend Young Minds entitled seven things every 7-year-old needs to know about love and sex. And so that is, we definitely, 7 is, you want to get them by that age, because they're going to be, our world is just filled with sexual cues, like little arrows coming in. Yeah. And kids will be curious and they're like, what is this? I need to know. And my parent isn't talking to me about it. So I need to figure this out on my own. And they have options now, right? If they don't, they can go to the internet. When I was a kid, I'd ask my mom, and she didn't really want to talk to me about it, where babies come from. She was like horrified. But she did come up with an analogy. It was kind of a weird analogy, but it was like, how you plug into the outlet. That's kind of how it is. And I'm like, so every time you want a baby, you plug in, and she's like, no. And I'm like, okay. I'm not, obviously I kind of get the idea of what's happening. And that was all the information she gave me. So I had to find other ways to figure it out.
Mhm.
And so if we can be the sex expert really for our children, and they trust us and they feel comfortable, maybe you don't feel comfortable right away, practice.
Yeah.
Practice,
Mhm.
practice in the shower, practice in your, in front of the mirror, practice wherever, practice with a friend, practice with a spouse, and get comfortable.
Yeah.
This is one of the most important conversations you're going to have with your children is about sex. And then you can talk about, it's counterfeit, pornography. Now, we wrote the books. I wrote the books so that you can read it to a child that you haven't talked about, you haven't given them the sex talks or started the sex talks. But I remember hearing of my neighbor had a friend when her daughter turned 8, they gave her the sex talk, and then they gave her an internet enabled device. And she just decided to start looking for the word sex. And guess what she came up with? She came up with porn, and she started watching it, and her personality started to change. And when they finally figured out that what she'd been looking at, they thankfully they took her to counseling.
Yeah, that's great.
And I think that can be helpful, very helpful if you get the right person. So, parents can do so much to make this comfortable for kids. And the earlier you start, the more comfortable it is for them, because it's just another thing that you're telling them, right? It's just another talk. It's just another, so it's when they get a little older, if you start this when they're 12 or 10, might be a little more uncomfortable, but press ahead, lean into your discomfort and do this, because I say no kid deserves to face the porn industry alone.
Oh, that's
and really every kid deserves to have these like digital defense skills.
Yes, I love that. And I think if you have children just really, really starting young, just like with normalizing genitalias and all of that, because I remember when I bathed my daughter and she was old enough to talk and understand, I would feel uncomfortable at first saying vagina and boobs. And it's like, no, you need to say these things. You need to normalize, but they weren't normalized in my household. So it was like that wanting to carry on what I taught was, or what I was taught into my household. I'm like, no, we're not going to do that. So I started using those words, and in time, they just got more comfortable. So whatever age your children are, if you haven't had the talk and you're going to start, it's going to feel uncomfortable at first. But if you keep, like Kristen says, leaning into the discomfort, eventually it becomes more normal, even for you, and the conversations in your household will be more normal. And I really believe just ripping away the curiosity out of your children's mind, like you want them to know that they can come to you with any and every question, because if there's something that you're not willing to talk about, their curious minds will find answers, and they're not going to be the type of answers that you want them to find. They're not going to be healthy answers, because they're going to come from their teenage friends or their elementary school friends, or they're going to come from porn. And what I love about Kristen's books, Good Pictures, Bad Pictures, is it makes it really, really easy to have the conversations. Like, I'll be honest, I was kind of like, I've told my child what a vagina and a butt is, and she knows that boys have different parts. Like, I've told her that. But how do you go and have these conversations beyond that? And so I love that Kristen has gone ahead of us, that she's written these books, because I was able to just read it to my daughter, and it was so easy. Like it just made that conversation. It brought the conversation up. And now my daughter knows, like, hey, there are things out there on phones, on computers, on tablets that she might see that are going to be inappropriate, but she knows what to do if she sees it. And so thank you for writing these books. They're so empowering for parents. And can you share with us the heartbeat behind like why you wrote these books?
Yeah. And I just want to say that we totally do not shame the human body in these books at all.
Right.
It is not about, shaming. In fact, we say every part of the body is good.
Yeah.
It's just not good to take pictures of them and show people online.
Yeah. And I loved that about the book too.
Yeah. And also that that if you see a bad picture, that doesn't make you a bad kid. There's something good you can do when you see a bad picture, right?
Yeah.
So we don't, we really take the shame out of it. How I got started. This was not one of my life goals to do this at all. But as we all know, life takes turns, and we moved to a new city for my husband's job, and I had just launched my last child, and I was looking to go back to work, but I met this woman who had a large family, and she talked to me one night on the phone, and she told me about her oldest son, who was 17 at the time, and how they had found out that he was molesting his younger brothers and sisters. So from the 14-year-old all the way down to the 4-year-old. And he didn't get the 2-year-old, thankfully. But anyway, he was introducing this kind of thing to them. And she told me all about it. And it was just a tragic story. The whole thing was just tragic. And when I woke up the next morning, I had this persistent thought in my mind to look for a resource that could warn young children about pornography, because pornography was involved. And so I looked and I looked. I couldn't find anything. I thought there'd be several books already. And then I started to do some research, and I thought, got the crazy idea. Just write a book for kids. It took 3 years to get it written, and because I wanted to make sure it was, that it worked. And so I tested it with dozens of parents, and I rewrote it. And then so it came out, and then I had parents come to me asking, do you have something for younger kids? And so that's kind of where Junior came from. So I'm so grateful. Obviously, they've fulfilled a need because they've both been #1 bestsellers on Amazon. And parents are looking for these kinds of. So I appreciate so much that you're having the courage to talk about this, and also to read it to your own daughter, empower her. Yeah, I'm glad she really likes it.
She loves it. She asked me, can you read it again? I'm like, you are so sweet. So, can you share with us your projects that you're working on right now, and how can our listeners connect with you and more about what you're doing in your ministry as well?
Well, we are, we've got so much we're doing. We're going to conferences again, and we are, I'm working on a couple of ideas. I keep getting asked to write books for older kids, so teenagers or like tweens, right? And I have been working on a concept of that. And then, so we are also have we're about to put up a play guide that goes with Good Pictures, Bad Pictures Junior. And in fact, we'll be having a QR code in our new shipment of books that will lead you to that. And we should get you that, Brittni. But it's a way to kind of play with toys and help kids really in a more of a fun way to understand the concepts behind Good Pictures, Bad Pictures Junior. So we keep busy with our articles. We have guides, and we're always trying to reach out, and with our social media. So we're on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. So
is that just Defend Young Minds?
Defend Young Minds. Yes. Yeah. Don't ask me to be on there as a person. I mean, I am, but it's like, I'll tell you, it's hard enough to live your life, like just in real life. Yeah. But then to live your life on 3 or 4 other platforms, it's pretty tough for me.
Yeah, I totally understand. I know it's like a full-time job, social media. So I'm not on
Yeah.
it as often as, I think that you need to be in today's day and age.
Well, I think you just do what you can do.
Yeah.
And I have a team. I'm so blessed. I have a wonderful team that helps me with social media and also helps me with everything
Yeah.
because I'm a limited person. I'm very limited. I can't do everything. So I'm so grateful to have help.
That's so awesome. Is there anything else that you would like to share with our listeners today?
I've been thinking about this idea of, kids growing up and having to kind of and learning to turn away from pornography. And sometimes they're going to be one of the few kids that are doing that, depending on their situation. And so I think it's good to normalize being a little different.
Yeah.
It's okay to be a little different. So if you could find something in your family that you do that's just a little different, and then you teach your children, it's okay. We all wear red shoes on Sundays, whatever. I'm kind of joking about that, but something to normalize that it's okay. You don't have to follow the crowd.
Yeah.
Because the crowd may take you somewhere that is not healthy.
Yes.
So I've kind of just been thinking about that idea of help your kids know that it's okay to be different, and stand up for what they believe and what they've been taught.
Yes, I love that. Teaching your children to just be the one in the crowd who is influencing versus being influenced, I think is so powerful and empowering to children, because we can teach our children that they are leaders and that they can lead their friends to follow a godly path, to follow the path where they're not being consumed and harmed by pornography. So thank you again, Kristen, for your work. It was such a blessing to have you on our show today.
Thank you, Brittni. It was wonderful to be with you.
Of course. And thank you again for tuning into the Let's Talk Purity podcast. I love you guys. And in 2 weeks, my husband will be back. So stay tuned for that. Love you guys so much and have a super blessed rest of your week.
Hey family, Richard and Brittni here, and we're so excited to partner up with Proven Ministries to bring you the Sex Talk.
The Sex Talk is a course that is going to help you parents have the sex talk with your children. You know, in today's day and age with modern technology, sex, porn, it's everywhere. And your children are either going to learn about sex from pornography or from their friends at school, or they can learn about it from you. And you parents are the safe place. But we know that conversation can be awkward. Maybe it was awkward in your household with your parents, so you kind of don't want to have that conversation, or you just don't know how. And that's why we partnered with Proven Ministries, because we want to help you and we want to walk you through how to have the sex talk, how to talk about porn, what to do if your kids have already been exposed to porn or sex. And so we want to invite you to take on this course today. So thank you so much for considering this course. We know that it is going to greatly bless you and your family. So take on the sex talk today.
And you can check it out at lovealwaysministries.com/the sex